Okay, awesome. Now we need, amendments and approval of the agenda.
Yes, Mr. President,
Yes,
I would like to make an amendment.
yes.
I would like to have, item number 10 and 11 removed. I'm a little concerned at the, lateness of us giving this information. I am going to request that the executive office send us hard copies to be delivered to each council person by tomorrow, so we can review this packet and be able to execute these agreements for full term, so we all understand. I want the old and I want the new, but I want them in hard copies so I can read it and review. To get this on Monday at 5 o'clock is unacceptable to me, especially when the city was closed for President's Day.
Mr. President, I don't need hard copies. I printed mine here from home. There's also the office that we can.
I don't care. I want.
I don't need one.
Excuse me,
Well,
excuse
good for you.
me. Councilwoman, Waterman has a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Okay, now it's time for discussion. Is there any discussion?
Yes, sir. Why can't we print them ourselves from the office, or why can't we print them from home?
All of those
I mean,
are,
that makes all the sense in the world. I
Because I
have
don't
both
have a
copies
printer
here.
at home.
I have
It's
both
the
copies
city's
here
business
in
to
my
give me
hand.
what I want.
You want to
So I
overspeak
want
me, but I have the right to
information
speak.
that I have requested.
excuse me, Councilwoman Waterman and Councilwoman Peterson. If you wish, not to have a copy, please email the administration so they won't make you a copy. But as far as, the request has been moved and supported, so now it's time for roll call.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Is that, are you calling on me, Mr. Chair?
No, I call it roll call, is what I call it. Yep.
Okay. but President
Miller?
McKay, this.
Yes.
Petola?
Yeah, we can go to the office and print them if we can't afford
Yes,
to
sir.
print
Yes
them
or
at
no?
home.
Yes or no?
My answer was no, because we can go to
Okay.
the office and print them, or we can print them at home, if we can't afford it.
Yes.
Shramsky? I'm sorry, Councilmember Shramsky, what was your vote?
Yes.
Taylor Burks?
Yes.
Waterman?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Carter?
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 nay.
Okay, Attorney Sharp and then, Mayor Waterman.
I just wanted to suggest also with that, you did not get, unless this is an oversight, the revised Dearborn Capital, T2 agreement, with the, the removal, I should say, of the, land contract and the, obligation of the, city being the co-borrower, so the revised document as well. Thank you.
Council President, if I could clarify that, please.
Go ahead, Mr. Gibb.
Thank you, Council President. There wouldn't be a revised agreement with Dearborn Capital. The terms of that are included in the closing schedule agreement that was reached. And both copies of those closing agreements, the agreement signed by North Bay and Charles Stevens, as well as the agreement signed by the city and Dearborn Capital, were in the supporting docs, but I will make sure that those two agreements, particularly the Dearborn Capital agreement that speaks to what Attorney Sharp is speaking to, is more clearly set forth. All of the signed documents were in that supporting document, but I'll make sure that there is a tab that reflects that particular agreement. So there will not be, or there is not, a revised agreement with Dearborn. There is an agreement that defines the closing schedule that removes those two items not being necessary for closing.
And just to clarify further, there's a Schedule 3. I mean, I did in fact go to the agreement, which I don't think the council members had enough time to do that in this rush. But there was a Schedule 3 for the memorandum of lease, which is supposed to be recorded with the Oakland County Register of Deeds. It's not contained in the document. So if all of the documents could be included, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yep.
Look, just a question. Is there any reason why this addendum, this package wasn't included in the clerk's package to send to us? It should have all been included.
Council President, if I could clarify again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. President Pro Tem Carter, the agenda deadline of Thursday, we had put in the proposed resolution, the background materials, and all of the existing supporting documents. But as Council President asked, and we certainly agree with, we wanted to make sure that we had a fully agreed to document before it would go to council. And so it took us multiple hours through the weekend to complete all of the language, and it has been fully signed off by Dearborn and the administration, and now it's before you. So we did not have a completed lease document until Monday at lunchtime, and it was submitted as soon as we had it. The balance of the documents were transmitted in the packet to the clerk on Thursday.
The reason I asked you, Mr. President, I mean, most common sense would say, even if someone's a lawyer, it would take them 2 weeks to go through this package of documents that we just received yesterday. Thank you, sir.
I just got a report that Pontiac TV has no sound on it right now. Can somebody from the administration check with that? I find it very, very funny that the council meeting has all these problems, but the planning commission meetings never have any of these problems. So if somebody can check on that, that would be great. Madam Mayor?
Yes, I just wanted to confirm what Attorney Gibb did tell us, that the document that you got, that you requested for today is hot off the press. And it's been negotiated all this time. It's a very complex deal because I was wanting to add on some of the security provisions as well as cash. And the reason there is another document that says there is no land contract is because there's no longer a land contract. That's a good thing. That has been revised. So that is the document. All the other documents that you have were sent to you as part of the packet. The only thing that was included was a new document that came to you. Now, you want it to hand delivered. I need to know who will need it hand delivered. Although our charter says that the city clerk is the secretary for the council, that he's responsible for getting documents to you. But given this framework, I want to make sure it gets to you, and I will take the responsibility of doing that. And what I'm going to tell you is that I don't have any courier service. You don't have to pay courier service that we pay for. But I will have to find deliverers who will put them, if you're not at home, they will put them on your front porch, or if you give us some other directions. But they will leave them for you, but they won't be able to make multiple trips back and forth if you're not at home. So I just want to advise you that, and we'll send you a document that lets you know that it is at your home, or the address that we have on file. All right, so that's what I will do to assist you, Interim Clerk, because I know this is a demand for you, and you don't have a courier service either, so I'll take that on for you, because I do want it to get in the hands of the council members so they have a chance to see.
Okay.
Mr. President, actually, the clerk does not have a copy of the documents that the council is referencing to. I have not been provided any documents, no more than what is a part of your official packet. I have not been provided any additional documents.
All right. So, if you want a copy, let's take a roll call on who needs a copy of all of the documents.
Can I ask one quick question to Attorney Gibb really quickly? Attorney Gibb, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but in terms of, I get the, again, the modification being a positive, but yet at the same time, it would appear to me that it still modifies the agreement in terms of the language in certain respects. So are you saying that you're just taking the terms out, and so therefore you don't have to provide the executed? Like, did you do a strikeout with that language? I mean, I just think council needs to see exactly what that finished product is, even though you're saying that it doesn't materially alter, it still needs to be reviewed. And with all due respect, I just don't know how you can just omit it and say that it doesn't alter any language whatsoever. Thank
Mr. President, while you still there?
Let Mr. Gibbs respond to that.
Okay.
And then,
Sorry.
Thank you, Pro Tem. Let Mr. Gibbs respond to Attorney Sharp, and then we'll take you.
Yeah, thank you, Council President. So the council on November 17th approved and authorized the execution of the global settlement. And on November 21st, approved and authorized the execution of the sale and purchase agreement with Dearborn Capital. Those two documents were presented to council and were approved and then executed without revision, except for, if the council recalls, that we did add the November 20 letter from Dearborn Capital as an exhibit to the purchase agreement. But those were documented, and the clerk has those documents. As we, in the supplemental document package, we did include all of the other communication and execution documents, including the exercise of the right to extend the closing, the confirmation from Dearborn Capital that they had escrowed the additional funds for that. We also included the letter that noticing that to Dearborn so the council could see every activity that went on. As we approached the February 3rd closing date, the article in the Free Press that really grossly misstated this whole transaction, and then the threat of the lawsuit that was filed caused a reanalysis, not by us, but by both the other parties to those agreements. And because of that, we took advantage to negotiate in lieu of closing on the 3rd to say, let's enter a schedule of closings. So this is very, very, very common in commercial transactional work, where you will say what is required of closing under the agreements, and in lieu of going back and reopening an already authorized and executed purchase agreement, and this was the intent from both sides. Both sides would prefer not to go back and restart that just from the timing level, but particularly on the Dearborn Capital agreement, in lieu of seeking to change or amend that particular document, in lieu of that, a closing schedule was agreed to. Because it did not materially alter the terms that were required for closing, it was only eliminating certain items. That closing agreement was completed and approved and executed, no different than you would work with the title company, as we will next week as we approach closing on February 26th, which is the permanent final day of closing for this. That there would be certain items within the title policies and others that you would simply agree that they were not required as part of closing. And so that's why there's not any changes to the global settlement or to the Dearborn purchase agreement. There is agreements by all of the parties on what are the requirements for this to fully close. And that's what those two closing agreements are. And it's a very, very standard way of moving this forward. What it did was it allowed us to get the additional time necessary to say two major requirements for closing, which would be to execute loan documents as a co-borrower and secure the matter with the land contract document, are now eliminated from that closing schedule. And so those would not be necessary, much like if there was an assignment of a lease, but the tenant had already moved or that tenancy had been terminated, you simply wouldn't execute that assignment of lease. This is the same fashion of that. We looked at what was necessary to close. And so those closing documents, again, are in the supplemental documents that were provided to the council last week. But as we print copies, I'll make sure that there's a notation directly to those two documents.
And we can just provide the T2 Dearborn Capital agreement again, so I respectfully disagree, but if you can revisit that, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're still in the phase of getting approving the agenda, so I just want to bring that back, Pro Tem Carter, because this is
Okay. Mr. President, I'll put the majority of it into the chat, and I was going to ask, everything I need to say was in the chat. The last thing I'm going to ask is how did we get the $7.4 million? It's not explained, but everything else is on the chat for everyone to read. Sorry, I typed it with all caps, actually.
Okay, so I would like to amend the agenda to have to remove item number 6 and 7.
And then the next one is from
Niccolo Mastromateo. Good evening, City Council and citizens of Pontiac. You haven't heard from me in a while. I know and I hope everyone doing well, but I felt it appropriate to take this opportunity tonight to let you know that although I've been quiet and have admittedly grown downward, exhausted on rare occasion in the midst of the overcoming numerous seemingly never-ending obstacles in my continued effort to do everything I can possibly can for the city and the citizens behind the scenes, as I have been doing now for the past several years. I have not once pumped the brakes. Thank you to the much-needed inspiration and motivation provided by the citizens of Pontiac. Thankfully, am more than well prepared to have your backs in the event this deal with the Dearborn Capital is not consummated between now and next week. If, however, the deal drags out any longer than next week, I'll be forced to hang up my cleats for good, bringing with me the backstop for both relevant parties in this situation, seller and city, in the event the deal does not close, which would mean the backstop burden that I've been quietly carrying for so long will fall upon the citizens and taxpayers, which I think we all can agree is something none of us wants to happen. Based on what I've seen thus far, and I'm certain the majority feels similarly, there are many questions left unanswered despite repeated failed promises from at least one side of the many aisles involved on this deal. Some, if not all, the following questions I'm sure you're already repeatedly asked and discussed among one another in collective efforts to seek answers before tangibly moving forward with this deal, but certainly seems as though there are no answers, only the search. Some such questions include, but are not limited to, the following. Has the council been shown any documentation, especially after the supposed changes that were claimed last week to the already have been made? 2, was the city actually able to eliminate the co-borrowing personal guarantees in land contract, and if so, how? 3, if the city was actually able to get PNC Bank to sign a letter of credit or palatable $5.6 million promissory note for a total payoff of $6.85 million and without the property serving as collateral. 4, if the city council has ever been shown proof of funds from Dearborn Capital in general, but also more specifically for the $17 million in proposed repairs to the Phoenix Center that are supposedly to follow this proposed acquisition transaction. 5, if T2 has in fact dissolved, as was alluded by a concerned citizen in his or her public comments from last week's council meeting. Thank you for your time and consideration this evening. With the upcoming elections in mind, I wish you only the best of luck in implementing only your purest form of judgment in both your individual and collective decisions to proceed in which direction you lead to proceed on behalf of the best interests of the city and all citizens for today and for each and all of your tomorrows. Guys, Niccolo, so that.
The last flyer I'd like to talk to you about is that the issue that you took off the agenda here, there's a lot of people who would like to know what the real deal is about this Phoenix Center and Ottawa Towers. And we're going to have a town hall in which we're inviting not only somebody from Dearborn Capital, but have our own city attorney, Matt Gibb, as well as our economic development director, as well as myself. And we are going to talk about the real deal about the Phoenix Center and Ottawa Towers for those who want to know more information. As you council have the documents that you were reading, there are many people who want more information on the win-win facts about the public-private partnership that we have negotiated to bring to the city of Pontiac, plus.
That's your time, Madam Mayor. Attorney Sharp? About a week or two to roll it out.
Okay.
Just real quick, Mr. Gibbs, I have 3 questions that I want all my colleagues to look at when they're going through their pack so far in the pages that I've seen. The first one is, who is Pontiac Rising LLC? I thought we were working with Dearborn Capital, and I didn't see anything that said that this group was that group. So I need to know who's actually we're leasing this to. Number 2 was, please explain section 2.3. Why would we lock future councils into a 100-year agreement with no clawbacks from the city? The first agreement being 20 years, and then they have 8, 10-year extensions, with the city having really no say-so in getting out of it. And then the third would be why is the city agreeing to fix the freight elevator? If we're selling it to them as is for $10, then why would we be fixing the freight if they're gonna have access and use to that also? So those are my 3 questions, that I had so far. I'm pretty sure that there's gonna be more questions. I think we should schedule a special meeting on Friday after people get a chance to look at it, to deal with that. So, that would be, my thought, and we're gonna adjourn this meeting